Okay, Hotel Transylvania, Transformia, which already kind of sounds like a Transformers movie. Well, the ending part, but it's about some of them transforming into humans or monsters. Basically, the whole plot is Drac wants to give away the whole hotel mainly to Mavis, but I guess she's like, "Oh, I also want to go to Johnny," and he kind of makes up like some bullshit for not giving it to him, and it has to do with him being a human, so he wants to turn to a monster, because Van Helsing, um, has like this rate that can turn them into monsters, or the opposite, and they have to find more energy for the thing because it broke. They have to go on this long journey, basically. Um, this was already a series that felt like it was running out of steam. Uh, Honestly, the one that I liked the most was the first one. The third one isn't terrible. It's just more like it felt like it was dragging on too long. Like, you've reached a point when only the third movie and you have to do like a summer vacation movie. Um, and while that one wasn't that good, it was just fine. It was like the same level as the first one. It had some good stuff, like some good visual gags and stuff like that. Stuff that this movie seems to be lacking, but I'll say the few positives. One, I like that most of the voice actors returned. Um, some of them, like Wayne, like Invisible Guy. Yeah, I guess Wayne and Frankenstein, they were pretty funny when they turned into normal humans. Uh, that was actually pretty funny. That was like some of the only funny stuff in the movie, but it felt like it was too infrequent for this movie to actually feel like a good comedy. I know that it's a kids movie, but even the other ones, including the second one, which is a problem that this movie mirrors, I'll talk about later, has some funny stuff. I'm just, it's still like it's infrequent enough, but at least some of that stuff was funny. Um, I do like that most of the voice actors returned, like Andy Samberg or like Selena Gomez. Uh, and Adam Sandler didn't return. I'll talk about that in a bit. Van Helsing was pretty good. He was actually pretty funny. I think his voice is just naturally kind of funny. The film runs at a pretty brisk pace. Like it's pretty short. It's short for even these movies. It's like 86 minutes long, but like more like 76 or so without the credits. It's pretty short. Um, I guess it has good animation, but even still not as good as the previous one. So yeah, I'm just gonna get into negatives. When Adam Sandler did not return, the new dude Brian Hall, who apparently has a YouTube channel, does some impressions. He's not the worst, but you can really tell, like, because I saw the video where he like does like a Pixar character singing a song or something like that, and it was pretty good with the impressions. But when you have to do a full length movie about it, where you have to sound like him, you could definitely tell he just doesn't sound a lot like him. His voice was a bit grating. Like I don't know, like even Adam Sandler's voice of Dracula was a little annoying, but this just feels like I don't want to say a really bad impression because I do feel bad. Like the dude is trying, but it maybe got a bit better as it went along. It did not sound a lot like him, man. It didn't. It was very blatantly obvious. I feel like even children would know that. Um, uh, I guess another thing is that it's not nearly as visually funny. There's not that many background jokes. It just doesn't feel as lively as the original one. Like, yeah, they've got some of the sporadic movements down, but even that still feels less lively and entertaining. And I guess they just decide, we're not really gonna have that many of the side characters from any of the movies, and instead we'll have Ninja. Literally, yes, they have Ninja in this movie. I don't know why, besides, I guess, cultural relevance, I guess, but he's not even that relevant anymore, so that didn't age well at all. And it's kind of funny because this movie already kind of fucked up with its release date because it was originally going to be like October in theaters, which would make sense released in streaming. No, they decided to like push it back, I don't know, like November or December, and then eventually now to January when no one's fucking watching it. So that's nice. And if I'm going to talk about smaller characters or some stuff like that, I'm going to bring up Dennis, who I guess isn't a vampire in this movie because there's some interesting tonal, not tonal, I don't want to say lore because there's not really much lore to this movies, but like just basic continuity mess ups because the whole plot of the second movie, so this really isn't actually a small thing, but he's just a smaller character and also is a small character literally. He's a vampire and the whole movie's about him. I guess the whole idea of it. And in this movie, he can be mind controlled or hypnotized. Even though in the second movie as well, they say that like Count Dracula, whatever the fuck, literally tries to hypnotize another vampire, but he doesn't realize it until he points out, hey, I'm a vampire, you can't hypnotize others. But in this movie, I guess they can. So that makes a whole lot of sense, guys. That was, yeah, because that makes sense. And some other stuff, like, I guess Mavis has super sonic hearing and she can, like, make her ear look like a bat, but I don't think they've ever fucking done that in the previous movies, so, like, that's interesting. I feel like that would have helped in the third movie when there's literally a twist villain, not really a twist villain, but to them, a twist villain, so that's great. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I guess we'll go back to the whole thing of, like, the side characters and stuff like that. There's not many of them. I mean, there's some in parts of the movie, but it all helps to feel very barren and kind of like soulless, like this series kind of is becoming. It just kind of feels like soulless and hollow, especially after Adam Sandler left and also Kevin James. I think they didn't even really want to be in the third one, but now they're not in this one. The dude for Frankenstein isn't that bad, but again, the dude for Dracula does not sound anything like him. And also, even Blobby doesn't contribute that much to this movie. And the Invisible Man's there, and it turns out he's been naked the entire time, even though there's several kids and young wolves and stuff like that in there. Yeah, I I feel like he'd be registered somewhere. I think you know. But not just that. How is he a monster? He just turned invisible. For Frankenstein, it makes sense because he's a literal monster. But for this, it's like, how is he a monster? He's literally just invisible. That doesn't make that much sense. Like, okay, he's just invisible. That's not like monster. Like, that's just like mad science, kind of, but not really. I mean, he seems like a rather chill dude, so that's weird. And he's also like, when Frankenstein becomes like a normal human, kind of, I mean, he's buff, he's handsome, he's like glistening and tall. He's like, he got the worst of it, even though you're still a normal human already. Like, you're just invisible, whatever. Uh, but I guess it doesn't really matter that much. I guess it sticks out because, again, these characters aren't in it for that long. And the two characters that are mainly in it, Dracula and Johnny, are both not very funny and also kind of dumb. Like, yeah, there's a point that you're watching right now where they somehow walk onto a cliff, even though, like, what's his name? Johnny, who's not a monster in this, is just walking up. Somehow he didn't notice that he would realistically have to be walking. No, he's actually walking like normally, like in a straight path, even though the mountain looks very small, so he would have been walking up. So it doesn't really make that much sense. Small stuff like that. And Dracula is like, let me down, even though you're an old man. He's not a vampire, which he keeps forgetting a bunch of times in this movie, which is also really weird. And then he actually does get let down, but of course realizes that's dumb as shit. So yeah, that's kind of dumb. And also Johnny, the whole plot of this movie, with the whole separation in the third act where they're all mad at him, I kind of feel bad for Dracula because the whole reason because Johnny wants to take this hotel and mess with the image, turning it into something completely different. Like, dude, you're kind of spitting in the face of the whole image of this hotel. Like, it was literally made to keep humans away because the dude's wife literally was just murdered. So that feels pretty distasteful. So I actually understand why Drac is annoyed. What else is there to talk about? Oh yeah, the plot seems like the most easiest plot to make an actual movie is actually doesn't really take up that much of the movie if you think about it, more like 20-30 minutes, even though they have like a bunch of areas to go through that Van Helsing points out, but they don't really. It just kind of skims over it a bit. It just feels very quick, so that's great. Also, if I want to talk about Van Helsing, I also mentioned later how the transformation is mutating, and we see this guinea pig who completely turns into the monster after the first time the red eyes come. But for Johnny, it's more gradual, so that's a bit weird. And I guess they're talking about how unstable the mutations are, but later when they technically, I actually no, I don't think that part's a flaw. But yeah, that part was weird. And then also, I guess all the side characters come to save Dracula. And then when they come back, the whole hotel's been destroyed because no one fucking watched over Guinea and tried to stop him, except for Van Helsing and a few other people. Like, yeah, you might want to take that thing with you, or at least take it out of the hotel, you know, the thing that's going to destroy everything. Yeah, just totally leave that in a mansion that can easily be destroyed. That's been this dude's life work and the whole reason for this plot happening. So, yeah, that doesn't really make much sense. So yeah, that stuff just overall makes the movie kind of forgettable because it is hard to remember some stuff about this movie. It's short, it's kind of entertaining, but just feels kind of lame compared to the other ones. And like the series is very dug into the ground, even though it's only the fourth one. But it's a thing, I guess. It is a little sad to see a series like this that kind of had a bit of potential and was actually funny for at least the first two, kind of. It's just, well, maybe even the third one. But yeah, that's this film. Out of 5, I've rated it like a star and a half, and so out of like 10, I'd rate it like a 3, I guess. It's bad. It's not the worst thing ever, but it is kind of close to rather terrible. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Whatever. You can watch it, but I don't think your intelligence is gonna be insulted that much. Very something like the Predator or something that's that retarded and just really fucking dumb. But yeah, this is just kind of forgettable. I hope you enjoyed. If you want me to talk about the other Scream movies, I'm actually just going to be talking about them on my Letterboxd. I'll link it in the pinned comment or whatever. But yeah, this is a movie. This is indeed a movie that has existed.